and why that the 49ers were in my top 10 in the first place. So with that being said, the other game that I, of course, love watching classics. I love watching the Red Sox and the Yankees. I love watching a lot of these classics because you know what? Being in New York, it's beautiful to vacation, but man, do they go through some stuff. And to join us talking about some New York sports, Jason Calenzo from 3 Deep. Here he is here on the show. Tell you, Jason, what a display. Like that I felt like in that game, and people question, like, you know, why do I have San Francisco in the top 10? Like, people think, oh, it's a cupcake schedule. This is why they want to be in the back in the playoffs. Look, the NFL stands for not for long and not very likely for some teams, okay? But the thing is, I felt like no Brock Purdy, no Juwan Jennings, no Brandon Ayuk, not even a Nick Bosa. No problem. All I know is Kyle Shanahan with his scheme, his offense. You pair that with somebody like Robert Saleh, who puts his foot down, takes no BS, go do your job. San Francisco shocked LA in that first quarter. Like that. What did you think of that? Because I felt like that right there tells you why Saleh should be given another chance at head coach.
It was an unbelievable game. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Thursday night games right off the bat as it is. Sometimes they get a little the Thursday night trap, you know, those guys coming off of playing Sunday. But San Francisco came to play. So, I mean, let's give a shout out to Kyle Shanahan, right now, coach of the year. I mean, he has done an unbelievable job with literally half his team on IR. And for Mac Jones, we've seen a couple of rebirths in the quarterback genre right now with, you know, Danny Dimes coming back. Now he's Indiana Jones. But, man, the return of the Mac Jones, Alabama Mac, he looked really good last night, man. It was unbelievable. 342 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He made plays when he needed to make plays. And let's give credit to CMC. We literally had Christian McCaffrey dead and gone. We thought the injury, a lot of us like, man, is he ever even going to play football again? Right now, he's the MVP front runner because look at what the 49ers are doing. They're first in the West, 4-1 with a decimated team, with a backup quarterback. Phenomenal game. And the Rams, you know, I guess it's, you know, if you're going to lay an egg, you might as well do it on a Thursday night early in the season. The McVay effect. I know they kind of went for it on 4th and 1, but, you know, fumbling in the end zone, you can't do that. That is like, you take care of the football. So I kind of knew once they did that, you know, the game was over. But 49ers should have never been in that game. What was it, an 8.5 point spread? Yeah. So they should have never been in that football game last night. So 49ers, fantastic win. Shout out Podcast Smitty. He's a huge 49ers fan. I know they are feeling good about that team right now, being first in the West, and you don't even have your full complement there. So Rams, I think they'll be okay moving forward. Puka Nacua is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Just give it to him because he is an unbelievable monster. It was a fantastic game, man. What a lot of drama. It was a drama-filled evening last night. Needless to say, I was flipping back and forth, going a little crazy here on the clicker.
It's funny because, you know, I say this about the Rams, is I felt like they play a lot like the Dodgers, respectfully, because here's the thing. You talk about Los Angeles, which is all about, you know, the show, the lights, you know, the actors and actresses. You want to put on a show. Okay. Right. And we watch the Dodgers where what they're doing right now is that they are entrusting Shohei Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez and multiple people that are capable of hitting home runs and scoring runs. But the bottom line is you got to have a bullpen. You got to be able to close these games out. And I feel like with the Rams, special teams has been an issue. Not protecting the football is becoming an issue. I felt like, Jason, that play, instead of running the ball, look at how much they were cooking them on the air. Matt Stafford was having a game of his life. And so I felt like, why would you not go with the hot hand of a team that you know against them in the air? They were getting cooked. You went right downfield in it, like you were instinctively in there for the kill. And then all of a sudden you just get stopped up on 4th and 1. I felt like those are the kind of things you could put up 10 runs. But when you give up almost nearly half, if not full amount than what you came in with, that's pretty scary. Am I right?
Yeah, you're definitely right. And I mean, the 49ers almost gave that away too. I mean, you get the fumble, you get the ball. There's like it was about a minute to go in the game. You still gave them a chance to come back and kick the game-tying field goal. So the Rams had their chances in that game. They just made a lot of bad plays and a lot of head scratchers. You know, again, Sean McVay, he's a pretty smart guy, and he knows how to play football. He's won a chip. So has Stafford. So for them to kind of do what they did last night, again, they laid an egg Thursday night, chalk it up to early in the season, get it out of the way now. But yeah, it was like, what are you doing? What do you get down there? You already know, hold the ball high and tight, guys. Come on. I mean, that's like football 101. So what are you doing with that? But man, 49ers pulled it out away. You know, you're on the road, you're at their stadium. You do what they did. That defense, yeah, Salah's got them rocking, man, because that's who's keeping these guys in the game. The offense playing well. And shout out to Kendrick Bourne. I had him in one of my fantasy leagues with this bye week. I had to pick somebody up. I put Kendrick Bourne in, so 10 catches for 142 yards. You know, they had a little East Coast magic there with Mac Jones and Bourne back together again. So thank you very much for helping my fantasy out. But that offense is not that hugely dynamic. It's CMC and then whoever else, Tonjes, whoever else can kind of just step in. The defense and Salah has those guys playing well. So, and you don't have Bosa. So, I mean, you don't even have your best defensive player on the field. You're getting the very best out of every position, out of every player. Everybody's doing their job and they're doing it well. And right now, first in the West. And right now that West is probably the best division in the NFC. So, you know, you got to give them props right now. They're just clicking on all cylinders with not having a lot of help.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the 49ers and the Rams. I think initially what I look at is, you know, people were concerned about, do the Rams address quarterback? I would be honestly like thinking, you got 2 first-round picks, okay? And you could utilize those. But what's the severity of the position? Because to me, it's like, I don't think quarterback, truthfully, in my opinion, is a severity for the Rams. I feel like if you go out and maybe make a trade somewhere within the league, you go get a quarterback, but you got to fix that corner. Like the corner seems to be an issue there for the Rams. But that's just me personally. I honestly do think that serves more of an importance because you are not paying a young defense right now. And the last thing you want is to be exposed up and into the secondary. I want to talk some New York sports here up in this one because it's been great. Jaxson Dart cooking for the Giants. And you know what? I love these classics. Red Sox, Yankees, you know, the Bronx Bombers, you know, up and in town. And when you hear the whistle every strikeout, it's just always a refreshing deal. But here's the thing. I had the Yankees moving on against the Red Sox. And the one big thing is, the Red Sox did some justice because they cut the cancer out of the locker room. They got rid of Devers. People treated that thing like a Luka trade. I said, whoa, time out. First of all, we all saw what happened with Luka. The Lakers were not built to step up against some of these bigs like Minnesota and Denver and some of them. So this whole hype of Lakers in 5, you went home in 5. And then when I look at the Giants, they felt like they got a steal off of Devers. I'm like, you just got a manager fired and you missed the playoffs. Whereas the Red Sox, it's like, I get the Red Sox do a different type of business, but they called up their number 1 prospect. They signed him to a lengthy deal and look at how happy that they are. A guy who was out of the building, who given up minus 24 on run saves at third base. You cannot have that. That's easy runs. That's easy hits. So you have to lock the corner down. That's why I say with Bregman, that was the reason why they went and got him. They have to shut down the corner. It's different when you're shooting for the gaps because you got outfielders, all this.
Right.
But the Yankees, I know it's frustrating with Aaron Boone because I'll be honest with you, why would you sit down someone like Paul Goldschmidt, who's had a great average against left-handed batters? Put him in DH. He doesn't have to play first. He just have to DH. I want to change the the 3 runs or the 4 runs they scored into 7. I don't want to be up over there making it that close. So again, I think the Yankees against the Toronto Blue Jays, I'm not saying it's easy work, but you can't have something like that up again. I felt like they dodged a bullet.
They did, and Aaron Boone has been making some questionable calls since game 1 when he benched Jazz. There was a big thing about that. It's like, dude, he's a spark plug on there, and he was integral in game 2 in the comeback too. So, and then taking Fried out, he's pitched. He's only in the 6th inning. He's pitching masterfully. He's essentially going to be your Cy Young Award winner, or at least up in there in the votes. And you take him out of the game, and then the bullpen, kind of gives it up, and they lose that first game. So yeah, Aaron Boone makes some questionable calls, but you can see it in his playoff record. He's 22-24 in the playoffs. He doesn't have a chip. Right now you have all-world Aaron Judge on that team and a bunch of superstars there, but they just can never get over that hump. They got to the dance last year and fell flat, but I think a lot of it has to do with coaching. And I'm surprised Aaron Boone is still the New York Yankees coach, because the manager, because some of the moves that he did even into last year and the year before that, you scratch your head and go, why? You're mismanaging. You're a manager. You're mismanaging. So what are you doing? So I'm glad they got out of it. It was a phenomenal game. Cam Schlichter, he was masterful. That was probably the best pitching performance I've seen out of a New York Yankee in the past 15, 20 years. I mean, it was unbelievable for a kid who was essentially in the minors in the beginning of this season to come in and pitch a pivotal game, 8 innings, no walks, 12 strikeouts, phenomenal. 22 first pitch strikes out of 29 batters. That is absolutely amazing and astounding. And he's also from Boston, Massachusetts, grew up, I think, 18 miles from Fenway Park. So like insult to injury kind of deal. So it was a phenomenal game. I think the Yankees needed that pitching performance, but I do question Aaron Boone and some of the moves he's making. I am worried about the Blue Jays. They have a solid team there. It's going to be a dogfight. And I tell you what, this is going to be very important series, not only for Aaron Boone, but for my man Aaron Judge. Judge needs to do something in these playoffs to solidify his greatness. Another ridiculous offensive season. 53 home runs. You're the batting champ. I mean, that is unbelievable. But you got to get the ring. This is New York. You don't win.
I agree. Yep.
I mean, you're going against legends right now. You have legendary people in Monument Park. If you want to be in there, you better go get that chip.
Yeah, no, New York doesn't play around. They tell it as it is, man. That's why I love it, man. And I was thinking about this, the MVP race, before we move on to the Giants. I was saying something about this. I know everybody loves a story. I love stories too. I love movies. But the Cal Raleigh story is a great story because catcher who's ever hit 62 home runs, average catchers usually hit about 230, between 250 at average. Right. But we know they have an importance. They're the most put out position possible because of the obviously strikeouts and pitches and all that. And then, of course, they have to protect the plate.
Right.
My biggest problem, and I have been to Cooperstown before in my life, love the Hall of Fame, respect it dearly. I'm a baseball kid at heart. But I have always had a problem when it came to these baseball writers today. Because even though we love stories, we see it all the time in college hoops. Wichita State and Loyola Chicago. Where are they at right now? We love, a small town kid who never got a chance. I'm happy for OKC, but OKC had made some great moves. But I look at between him and Judge having the better battery average, Judge having at least the better slugging percentage, but the wins above replacement is one of the biggest things, because when you look at Cal Raleigh only has one job. Whereas for Aaron Judge, he has several, because it's not just hitting home runs. He's spraying the ball left and right, getting the extra base hits. it's hard for me to really fall in love with a story, Jason, when I look at these stats and I'm like, if I'm looking at MVP in my eyes, I'm not looking for story. I'm looking for importance in a specific category is why your team is in this position.
Right.
And that's why I'm like, it's hard for me to do that. What do you make of this MVP race? Because I think a lot of people, vast majority of America is all about the Cal Raleigh story. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. I've seen offensive juggernauts like Aaron Judge, and I'm not putting disrespect, but it's just like, look, it's like what we felt about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I felt like when Josh Allen got the MVP, that was like a Martin Scorsese moment, okay? Honestly, I love Martin Scorsese, but I felt like he should have gotten that Oscar in that movie because that's a classic, but didn't. And then all of a sudden they feel bad and they're like, oh, here we go. We got to give him his moment. No. Just be honest to my face.
Right. This is going to be probably the closest MVP race I think we've had in a long time. I love stories too. And Cal Raleigh is phenomenal. I mean, a catcher to hit that many home runs and for the Mariners to be in the playoffs and playing well. It's not like he hit that many home runs and they were losing or like they didn't make the playoffs. For what you take him out of the Mariners are not where they're at. But the same with Judge. You take Judge out of New York, they're not where they're at too with the phenomenal season he had. So this is a toss-up. Of course, I'm a little bit of a homer here. So, of course, I love Judge because he is consistent. This is not a one-year wonder. Cal Raleigh, this is his first year really bubbling up and being a mega star. Mm-hmm. But Aaron Judge, for what he's been doing over years now, hitting 62, like it's like, okay, I hit 62. Well, then what are you going to do? Well, let me re-up it. Let me go win the batting title. So how many times have we seen a 50 home run hitter hit over 300? There's only been a couple. I mean, so it's just what Aaron Judge statistically is doing, especially playing in the outfield too. He's not just a DH. He's got an arm, so he plays. He's not, this once in a while guy. You just take him off the bench to hit a home run, and then he goes and sits down. Right. So what he's doing is phenomenal. But this is going to be close. I mean, of course, I love Aaron Judge. I think he gets it. But Cal Raleigh had a magical season, and so have those Seattle Mariners. And this is going to come down to a few votes. I think this is going to be like, you're going to have the new heads versus the old heads. You have your baseball, old school guys that are just a certain way. They're going to vote a certain way. And you have the newer generation, those guys are going to bubble up and go, oh, no, wait a minute, this is the better story. Or, we're going to dig deeper into this, but it's two guys. It's a 2-man race. They're both phenomenal. Both had a phenomenal season. That's why I wish they'd kind of wait and do the MVP voting after the playoffs. Let's see what both these guys do during the playoffs and how they lead their teams. But man, Judge, I think gets it, but I think it's going to be probably the slimmest margin we've ever seen.
I agree. I mean, it's going to be an instant classic for these two, but I agree with that wholeheartedly. All right, let's talk about these New York Giants with a Jaxson Dart led team. Look, I knew this was going to be a tough matchup between them and the Chargers. And they both, I felt like the game plan in which, Brian Daboll put together is utilized more of his legs. And which I get that. I felt like, you want to get him comfortable. You want to get him instilled into an offense, which outside of Andrew Thomas, this too, the offensive line is shaky for my taste. And on top of that, Cam Scadaboo is stepping into a role where Tyron Tracy's he's hurt. Right. And then you think about the brutal elite front seven of these Giants. And that's where I felt like that game in itself, when Alt came out of the picture, that whole line depth was exposed from the Chargers. It's not to say that, because I've heard a lot of people say, Dart's the truth. He's the one making it. I'm like, whoa, pump the brakes here for a second, because the Giants are trying to figure out who they have at quarterback. We haven't even seen the fullest of him. What should we expect from Jaxson Dart this week against the Saints, who I think it's disrespectful that the Saints are favored 2.5, because to me, I ain't seen much up and out their quarterback's hands. And I get Alvin Kamara, I get all that other stuff. But I feel like with the Giants playing containment ball up front and with Jaxson Dart, this should be an opportunity. And you know what? For fantasy football purposes, keep an eye on Wan'Dale Robinson getting a little, at least some fed the ball a lunch. What should we expect from this? Should we expect more throws this time?
I don't think so. I think Kafka is going to keep this simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. We cannot put, first of all, you have a 29th ranked offensive line. So you have a really, really bad offensive line. So keep it simple, short throws, pound Scatabo up in there. I love him. I think Dart and Scatabo, I think their energy is really what is driving this team and got them the win last week. Besides the Chargers being slightly overrated, I think Herbert's a little overrated. The Chargers do Charger things. They always kind of look good at first, and then they kind of just fall off and disappear. That seems to be the Charger way here. But I'm looking for the same thing. Keep it simple. Grind the game out a little bit. Manage the clock. Keep the ball out of their hands. Don't get Dart hurt. That's my biggest, as a Giants fan, this move already smelled of desperation for Brian Daboll and that organization, throwing him out there already. You know, I want to see Dart. I want to see what we got. But at the same time, I don't want to see a lame duck coach throwing a kid out there just to, I don't want to say save his job, because I think he's still going to get fired at the end of the year, but essentially saving him for his next job is essentially what this is. So I think you hand the ball off. You do minimal damage. You just dump the ball over there. Wan'Dale Robinson, I think he's going to be, I think he's going to eat a lot there. But that offensive line has me worried. But I don't really want to see Dart run too much. I think in specific instances, yes, but let's not get this kid hurt, man. He is something special. And I think they come out with the win. I mean, the Saints, and let's just say the Saints are not that good. Spencer Rattler, he's going to get destroyed by that front four. Those guys are starting to cook a little bit. Brian Burns looks like a monster. I mean, Sexy Dexy's not the same as last year. I kind of wonder what's going on with him. So I'm a little worried about that. They're starting off slow. But, man, Brian Burns, I think you're going to see some Spider-Man stuff going on when he sacks Spencer Rattler a few different times here. So I want to see a good defense, shut him down, and then just keep that offense simple for Jaxson Dart so he doesn't go out there and try to be more than he is. They don't need him to be that. Kind of control the game, learn some football, go out there, do what you got to do, but be safe about it. Slide when you need to slide. You know, I want to see this kid for years to come. We've seen too many quarterbacks rushed into this position and then just either fade away or get hurt or something, happens. So it'd be interesting to see, but I think they're going to come out with a win. I like them going against the Saints. The Saints defense is ranked 18th. So, I mean, they're not really that good. So with Scatabo and Dart and that youthful excitement, I expect some good things here coming out of New York.
We are around the corner for the NBA season, and my biggest thing, my final question is because I know my big thing is that I know a lot of people felt a certain type of way about Tom Thibodeau. To me personally, I know that he's a defensive mind, seeing him from his years in Chicago and even in his years with Minnesota. The Knicks have an identity that I know revolves around Jalen Brunson. But we know that when it comes to Karl Anthony Towns, he's not exactly that physical presence you would expect can get it done. We know that offensively he can put you up some points, but I got to have somebody that can be a pain in the you-know-what every time when congesting the lanes when you need to stop up and above the rim. So that's where I feel like with the Knicks going into this season, we know the Philadelphia 76ers, they're going to probably be up in a rebuild mode. I feel like it's just too much of they got to figure themselves out, rebuild consistency, and I just don't know Joel Embiid will last there in that organization. And I think even what we watched with the Pacers, small town team, they love fast-paced basketball. We're starting to see that an awful lot. what should we expect from the Knicks? Without Tibbs, this will look completely different. Should we be having a good feeling about them? Or is there going to be some sort of cases we should be worried about respectfully as it gets closer when you start thinking about playoff basketball?
Well, I like Mike Brown. Look, Mike Brown is not a slouch coach. He's won Coach of the Year twice. He has coached some pretty big names. In Cleveland, he got Sacramento, out of the gutter and got them to the playoffs one year. He's won some chips as a assistant coach for Golden State, so he has some pedigree. So it's not like they just threw some slouch out there to replace Tom Thibodeau. I like Tibbs, but he's always hit a ceiling. Every stop he's had. 3 to 5 years, that was it. And I can kind of see that in some of the moves he made in the playoffs last year, a la Aaron Boone. Why did you put that guy in, or why did you change the lineup? Why did you take Hart out and put Mitchell in? It's you start thinking about these things. But I think the Knicks, as long as they start off fast, I like Jalen Brunson to be in the MVP conversation. I really want to see more aggressiveness out of him. He is a phenomenal player. He is essentially the heart and soul of that Knicks team. They go nowhere without him. I want to see him in the MVP conversation because look, Boston took a hit. They still got an okay team. Got Brown and some other pieces, but they took a hit, so they're going to be sliding back. Indiana took a huge hit. Halliburton out, so they're going to be falling back. Who knows what's going on in Milwaukee? Giannis and the drama. Doc Rivers, hot seat. If they start off slow, did they fire him? Did they trade Giannis? So there's a lot of drama going on in Milwaukee. The Knicks, this is your chance to vault into, the tops of the East. Cleveland, 60-win team, but, lackluster in the playoffs last year. Are they going to be the same? Are they going to be that hot? Mitchell hurt. So there's a lot of questions in that Cavs organization too. So the Knicks, this is their year to take that step. Jalen Brunson, be aggressive, be in that MVP conversation. Karl Anthony Towns, I think he needs to watch old school. I'm old school dude. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Knicks, Patrick Ewing, Larry Johnson, Charles Oakley. You talk about guys that didn't take no mess and had some aggressiveness and beat you down. I want to see that from Karl Anthony Towns. Scoring, that's great, but get in there, body people up, man. Be a mess down low. I miss big player basketball down by the basket. We have fallen in love with the 3-ball and outside. I like old school basketball where you're down low, you're throwing elbows, you're pushing people to the ground. I want to see Karl Anthony Towns be aggressive, score the ball, but be aggressive, especially in the defensive end. Be a rim protector. Don't just hang around on the outside waiting for a three. I can't stand that stuff. But Mikal Bridges, that's our X factor right there. We gave up 5 first-round draft picks. That's more than what they gave up for Luka.
Yeah.
That's more than what they gave up for Kevin Durant. You could have had one of those guys, and we got you. So, man, I need to see something out of you. I need to see again. I want to see you closer to that 25-point average a game kind of deal. You need to be a superstar. I need to see a big 3 from those guys this year. So if they start off fast and they get they got the starting 5 back. It's not like they've changed the team. They've added some great pieces here with Malcolm Brogdon, Jordan Clarkson, Yabusele. So they helped the bench depth, which is what hurt them in the playoffs last year. We saw this with the magical run with Indiana. How did Indiana really just stifle people? Their bench. They just had guys come off the bench and all of a sudden score them double-digit points. They never let up on everybody. They were so fast. After their starting 5, they just kept coming at you. So that's what the Knicks need. So I need to see something out of that bench, which I think we got and we have improved. But, man, that big 3, Brunson, Towns, and Bridges, those guys have to be monsters. And I think we can do it. And I like Brown. He's coached big names. He's not a slouch coach. I think he's going to coach them up. If we don't hit 50 wins this year, it's a bad season. We've had back-to-back 50 win seasons with Tom Thibodeau, you got to do it this year. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have the starting five. Josh Hart hurt the other day. I think he hurt his back. We'll see how that. I haven't seen how that shaked out yet, but I think he'll be okay getting into the season. It's only preseason right now, so the Knicks have a chance to be top in the East with everybody falling back. I worry about Orlando, Miami, and we'll see what they do. But I don't think they really have a lot of competition in the East right now. The Knicks are one of the strongest teams in the East.
Absolutely love it, man. I got to make another vacation to New York because it's been quite a hot minute. And I've always told my wife, I'm like, look, I've been there 6 times and I've been about pretty much everywhere around the island and have yet to even be even more upstate. I've only gotten close to Cooperstown. I got to see the rest of it, but absolutely love the culture. Love exactly just you tell it as it is.
Yep.
It's always fun. Jason, love having you up here and on the show, man. Tap it in, man. Where can people find more of your content? Because you bring in fire. You guys bring up some fire up over there. So where can people tap in?
I appreciate that. I'm on the Boom Broadcasting Network, guys. You can check me out. I actually have a couple of different podcasts. I do Sideline Savants. Fantasy football is in big heat right now. So, guys, if you need any help with your fantasy football lineups, come check me out. I'm in Sideline Savants. You got to look at that. And then 3 from Deep. I do that also on the Boom Broadcasting Network, which is an all NBA podcast too. So come check me out doing that. I do that 1 time a week right now. On Mondays it drops, but when the season starts, I do that 3 times a week. So check me out. NBA, NFL, I got whatever you need. Come over to Boom Broadcasting. Check us out. Hit me up. You can also check me on my socials too, man. So I appreciate being on, man. Jake, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Love to have you on again, man, here soon. It's going to be interesting with them Yankees, but, I've said it. My preview, Yankees Brewers. I'm still on the fences right now with that World Series. Oh, yeah. I just have a good feeling. They give me a 2014 Kansas City Royals feel to me. They play small ball, pitching is pretty stellar, and they do the simple stuff right. I just don't know if the Phillies and the Cubs in some of these areas – they got that. I mean, it would be a fun series against the Cubs, but I just think when small ball really taps in, that's where you really got to you got to shine the most in those types of spots.
Right.
So that's what I'm feeling this year.
No, I you know what? I hope so, because I like it. Brewers, Yankees, a lot of history there too. So I mean, let's go. Let's bring it. As long as the Yankees are in the series, it's all that matters here. I'm good.
There you go,
I'm good.
Man.
So thank you so much, dude.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of the week and the weekend. We'll see you soon.
All right, man. Peace.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.